All right, how's everyone doing? This is Mike from Gamblers. We have another snow day here in New York on the East Coast, another nor'easter. Um, I think the other one was only a week ago, so hopefully this isn't a pattern that continues. But, snow days are fun when you're a kid, and then when you're older, it's like kind of feels like a claustrophobic thing. I've been dealing with that by going on the treadmill, which I've already done this morning, so I'm pretty proud of myself. Hair's a little wet because I just took a shower. But I wanted to get a video in. I wanted to continue with the trend, and I thought I'd talk about today. As I mentioned yesterday, or a couple days ago, I realized that I wasn't speaking too specifically about our band in particular, and I wanted to spend a little more time, not necessarily talking about the band in particular, but a piece of my career, which I think is important. Not just to be like, oh, I'm talking about myself, but it gives context to kind of what I end up talking about in these videos, so that at least I'm giving you, some piece of my history or my career, so you can go, okay, when he's talking about certain subjects, at least I know it's built on some kind of real foundation. I'm not just like, talking out of my ass or something. So I'm not going to talk about the band today, but I thought it'd be fun to talk about how I ended up working on music for Anthony Bourdain's show, Parts Unknown. As I've mentioned in the past, I've always been a big hip-hop fan, and I actually began producing hip-hop music around the age of like 19, 20, 21. I started getting really into beat making. This is when I was at Hunter College in New York, and I was living in a single dorm room, so it was a pretty solitary environment, and I spent a lot of the time when I wasn't in class learning how to make beats on my program that I was using, FL Studio. And I got really down the rabbit hole with just like getting super addicted to it, honestly. Like I was probably spending, no joke, like 8 hours a day programming beats. I'd take my laptop into school with me, do it in between breaks. I would take it into work, do it in between breaks when I was waiting tables. And which sounds crazy, but I actually would have it set up in like a desk and like, almost look like you're doing work when it was slow, but I was really working on beats. And through kind of honing my craft, I started reaching out to, friends who were hip-hop artists and, people that I wanted to collaborate with. Because I had collaborated with people in the past, but it was always, in like a band context. So once I got comfortable reaching out to my friends and artists to work on hip-hop stuff, I started trying to reach out to more and more people. And I eventually got to the point where I was producing for some pretty well-known people in underground hip-hop. Like I mentioned, Rhapsody, who was signed to Rock Nation eventually, this group called G-Side, Guilty Simpson, Boldy James. These are all people who were on my Waiting for Carmine production album. And then I started working with Heems from formerly Das Racist, and then he eventually formed the group Swet Shop Boys. I started working with Heems. We met early on. We met a couple times before we started working together. I actually was one time it was with LP. We were at a Mr. Motherfucking Esquire show, and LP was there, and Heems was there, and it was cool, like, being around those guys. This is before Run the Jewels. I have another Run the Jewels story that I'm going to put up. But Heems and I became friendly. We ended up one night kind of talking more than we had in the past, and he was living on Long Island at the time. Well, he still does now, but I told him, like, if you need anything out on Long Island, like, I'm your guy. Like, you need studio time, you need this, you need that, you need transportation, whatever. I'm still getting getting my foot in the door. So I'm not coming in like, yo, I'm some hotshot producer, because I wasn't. I was like, yo, I got you. You need anything, let me know. So kind of, I think I'm going to stay on that point just a little bit further, because I think that's important when we talk about value. Sometimes your value could be providing whatever, you know? If you know what they need, or, hey, I'll drive. Hey, let me pick you up. ST2 letters from G-Side. I drove him to the airport one time. You know, stuff like that. If you can help out, it doesn't always have to be in a you know, specifically a music context. Make yourself an asset any way you can, without seeming like creepy and thirsty. You know, there's a line. But if you're a normal person, I think you could kind of figure that line out. Be useful. So Heems and I told him, you know, if you need anything on Long Island, let me know. And sure enough, the next day he texted me and he's like, can you set up a recording session on Long Island? So I said, yeah, no problem. I reached out to my friends at Westfall, which is a studio I've spoken about. They ended up mixing the Gamblers album, helping to mix it and master it. I brought him over there. We did the session. Then he was like, hey, I want to set up a studio in my room. Can you help me? Sure. I brought over monitors. We set up a whole recording studio in his room on Long Island. And then through that, we ended up working on music. I set up the studio. I became his right-hand man. I was, you know, making beats for him left and right. He gave me a bunch of old Indian records to sample. I had my friend convert the records into audio files that I could chop up and sample. And we just started working like crazy. I mean, I probably made like 50, 60 beats for him. We started working on a solo album of his. And we finished about 12 songs. The album had a title, it had everything. He even announced the album on Twitter and tagged me. You know, it was like a legit thing. You know, he was going through some personal things that I won't get into right now, but, you know, for various reasons, that project kind of ended up on the, his kind of music just in general kind of ended up on the back burner for a while. But we kept working together and doing different things together. I would, you know, DJ for him at shows. You know, like if you're familiar with Sleaford Mods, I was the guy who's not the vocalist, like just sitting there with a beer, like pressing play on a laptop. But we had some really cool experiences doing that. We played, we opened up for Jizza in Northampton, Massachusetts. Just me and him on stage in front of a packed club. A big club, not like a rock club. Like it wasn't a theater, but it was somewhere in between a club and a theater. It was a big place. We did a gig in Montauk with Modest Yahoo, which he's a piece of work, that guy. Oh my God, talk about egos. What else did we do? We did a show in Amityville. We did what's the place? Oh, Elsewhere in Brooklyn. We did a bunch of stuff. So in the midst of doing all this work together, I sort of became like his right-hand man. Like I was kind of, you know, I became as close to him as anybody. And the way that he would repay me was, you know, by helping me land these opportunities, you know, bring me along for these opportunities, which were great for me. Because I was always providing value, you know. I'll help you build a studio. I'll help book your recording sessions. I'll make beats for you. I would drive to the gigs. I would, you know, help you set up the gig, you know, DJ the gigs, like just being valuable. So he gets a call, and he had previously worked with Anthony Bourdain a couple times. Das Racist was on the show once, and I think he did another thing. They did a song for him or something like that. So he gets a call, and he calls me up, and he goes, "Hey, the Bourdain people, 0.0 Productions, I think it was called. They're doing a episode in Houston. Excuse me, and they want to focus on the Indian culture in Houston, also tied into hip hop culture." We were having a conversation, like, okay, cool. Then he goes, "They want us to do a version of the national anthem which utilizes Indian music and also utilizes hip hop music." So I go, okay, very interesting. So it dawns on me, what if we do like a national anthem with sitars, but then we make it like a chopped and screwed beat to get that Houston in there? So that's what we did. I had my friend play piano, national anthem. I got some sitar samples. We wrote the parts, and then we did some, trap Houston 808 thing on the beat. Then I had my friend DJ Earns, who would later go on to work for Hot 97, screw it for me. Which, if you don't know what that means, is slowing it down, and there's a whole chopped and screwed sound. Like, if you're not familiar with chopped and screwed, do yourself a favor and check it out, because shout out to DJ Screw and the whole Screwed Up clique. And they loved it. They loved it. And, it was cool because my favorite part of all of this is when we sent it over to them, there was a particular distortion. I actually put a distortion on one of the 808s, or no, I'm sorry, on the bass track. I put a distortion, and we got a message on behalf of Anthony that said, "Tony absolutely loves the track. Can you bring the distortion on the bass up more?" And I said, "That's why he's Anthony Bourdain, man. That's why he's the king." Like, I was a little nervous about this bass is kind of crazy, and he wanted more of it. And I think that's just like a perfect symbolism of how cool that guy was. And to get a sort of personal insight from Anthony Bourdain on behalf of a piece of music that I created, wow. Obviously, that's in the highlights of my career, and probably will always be, no matter what I do. And Heems obviously rapped on the track too. And it aired on CNN. And this was in October of 2015. We also did another episode for a show on Viceland, which is now Vice TV, which maybe I'll do a video on that. But to see my name in the credits of Anthony Bourdain's show, unbelievable feeling, man. Unbelievable feeling. And a lot of times I talk about when you're pursuing a career or a passion or something like that, and in the darkest moments when you're like really getting down on yourself, as long as you keep pushing and you're doing things the right way and you're working hard and you're trying to work on, again, what you can control, and you're trying to provide value, generally speaking, if you're doing things the right way, if you're not trying to cut corners, if you're not trying to whatever, the universe will respond to you, and the universe will give you signs that you're not wasting your time. And again, to see my name in the credits of Anthony Bourdain's show on a beat that I made that Anthony personally said he enjoyed, with Heems rapping on it on CNN, that's the universe telling me, hey man, I know this shit is really hard. I know it's super lonely and tough and all that, but keep doing what you're doing. I can't interpret that any other way. Getting on fucking Anthony Bourdain is not an accident. I mean, is there luck involved? There's probably luck involved in everything. But the point is, that doesn't happen if you're not in the zeitgeist of trying to make things happen. And honestly, it's the highlight. It's of the highlights of my career so far. I still have a long way to go. I honestly feel like I'm just getting started. But no matter what I do, that'll always be up there. And honestly, I remember, a couple years later, 2.5 years later, I was driving and my brother texted me. It was early in the morning, the news that Anthony passed. I almost got into a fucking accident. I was like so screwed up by it. I actually had to stop my car. I actually had to pull over, and then I got a text that they think it's suicide, and I completely lost it. I mean, I bawled my eyes out. And the next couple days were just incredibly hard. I mean, in a world that gets as dark as it does and as corrupt as it does, this is a guy that is regarded as always just being a shining light in the darkness. And for him to feel like, he had to check out, it doesn't leave you feeling like with a lot of hope, and it's like, man, the fucking bad guys are always prevailing, and the good guys are suffering. I love Anthony Bourdain, as do a lot of people. I think he's so important culturally, and to have the smallest sliver of association with him and his show, like I said, is going to remain a highlight of my career for the rest of my life, no matter what I do. And I have Heems to thank for that. And what I also have to thank for that is, and again, why I spend so much time going through these things and trying to provide insight is, I was trying to provide as much value as possible to Heems and that situation that I was given, and I was working hard, and I was trying to do things, and the universe, you can never predict something as awesome and crazy as that, but if you follow those kind of tenets, some version of something will happen where the universe will respond and give you a message that, hey, you're not wasting your time. Gonna end it there. This was this one means a lot to me, so I wanted to share the story. And rest in peace, Anthony Bourdain. And I hope everybody has a great day, and thank you for tuning in. Talk to you later.